Hey folks, Will Brink here, brinkzone.com, and enjoying a big mug of my bomb-proof coffee. So if you're interested in the science and the recipe for that, check that out right there. What I want to talk about today is heavy-ass lifting, or heavy lifting for long periods of time, and the repercussions of that. You know, we talk about a lot of videos, you see a lot of videos of big, strong guys going heavy and hard, and we put out things like go heavy or go home, and so on and so on, and that's cool. Been there, myself as a younger guy, but I think what doesn't get covered a lot of times is the realities, the potential repercussions of a lot of that. For example, 8-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman can't walk. He's on I think something like surgery 10 or 11 right now for his back, in a wheelchair, and getting rehab and all that, and I do link to some of his comments, which you can check out right there, and you can go see some of Ronnie Coleman's comments on that. By most accounts, the greatest powerlifter of all time, Ed Cohen, also had hip replacement a few years back, and so on and so forth. And this is not an uncommon phenomenon. I mean, the point, or the fact is that if you push the human body, to its limits consistently, it's going to break down. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, I'm not trying to talk people out of doing that per se. What I'm saying is that one has to take into account that heavy lifting, or even not just heavy lifting per se, but trauma in general. For example, this is not limited to strength athletes by any means. I mean, the number of retired NFL players who can barely get out of bed in the morning due to the arthritis and other problems from their career, have to pop pain pills and stuff to get out of bed, is not uncommon. So any sport or any activity, military guys of course, where the body is pushed to its limits and then sometimes beyond consistently, there is often a long-term serious cost to that. And so this is something to be aware of. Now, Ronnie Coleman, for example, by his own admission, is quite clear that if he could change anything, he wouldn't change a damn thing. That's the price he paid. He's cool with that. And he's, moving on with his life. And I haven't talked to Ed Cohen, but I suspect Ed would say the same thing. I mean, the cost of fame has a cost. Now, at the end of the day, as always, weight training, resistance training is obviously one of the best bang for the bucks, one of the healthiest things you can do. And with everything, there is a curve where, do it super light, no intensity, not heavy, there's no benefit. Find the correct volume, intensity level, and so on for you to get the benefits, and then beyond a certain point where you go beyond benefit into pushing the system beyond its capacity to recoup, then the benefit starts to drop. Now, you might be breaking all kinds of records at that time as the benefit to your overall body, your joints, your back, your discs, whatever, is going down. This is something you have to figure out. I do think also that the modern understanding of things like rehab and prehab and warming up and volume and all that, I think we're going to see maybe less of these types of injuries, long-term chronic injuries. Remember, these are not acute injuries. These are not tearing something in the gym. These are long-term chronic destruction of joints and bones and that type of thing. I think we're going to see less of those, as a lot of strength athletes today are really on top of the science of, like I say, prehab and rehab and volume and all that, which will definitely improve longevity and hopefully reduce these types of injuries, or these types of operations, these types of damage that you see in the long term. We'll have to find out, of course. But I mean, Ed Cohen and those guys, they're pretty old school warriors, and I don't think there was a lot of that going on in their programming. So, point is, find the balance for you. Make those decisions, again, when you're young, when you're in your 20s, even your 30s or whatever, you consider yourself pretty indestructible and all that, and, I'll deal with that shit later. That's fine. I will say for myself, at one point, I decided that I wasn't going to break any records in powerlifting. I wasn't going to be any sort of big-time bodybuilder, clearly. I decided for myself that I was going to pull back a bit on the amount of weight. I was going to put in more rehab, prehab type days. I was going to work a little more on that. I was going to put in a little more conditioning work and so on and so forth. I made a conscious decision that, I really wanted to avoid being crippled, as I got older. and not knowing what the future held, I wanted to do the most in those areas to prevent it, and that's what I've tried to do. But I definitely still get some aches and pains from doubles and triple type weights, or 6 RMs or 1 RMs and all that. Again, there's a genetic propensity. The problem is that there's no, you could take 2 people, put them to the same program, 20 years later, one is having 11 back surgeries, the other one is basically fine. These are genetic components. Obviously that you just are unknowns at this point, so you really can't necessarily say who's going to have a problem, who isn't, and that's it's kind of the dice. End of the day, you got to do what makes you happy. You're not going to get out of this life alive anyway, but just be conscious that with those decisions, does come potential prices to be paid, and be prepared for that, be okay with that, and drive on. Like I say, lying on the couch doing nothing may be a very low risk of back surgery, but it's a pretty boring, useless life. So, having said all that, like I say, I connected some stuff on the site. I hope this info helps, and see you all on the Ring Zone.